Mike Kavanaugh from HIVHero.org and Hero News. Debra Messing takes the stage at the press conference at the World AIDS Conference 2012.
Debra, you recently returned from a trip to Zambia with PSI and Alir, and prior to that you visited also our efforts in Zimbabwe. Tell us about your experience and the lessons from that trip and how that is motivating you here at AIDS 2012.
Thank you, Carl. First, I'd like to say that it is a privilege to be here among such committed advocates and leaders. Good afternoon. To members of the media here today, I want to thank you. You play such an important role in reducing stigma and discrimination, in dispelling misconceptions, and in bringing global attention to HIV/AIDS. As you've heard from my esteemed colleagues, combination prevention is an important and effective approach to stopping the spread of HIV. I saw this firsthand on my recent trip to Zambia, where I traveled to see how PSI is combining prevention tools that are bringing us one step closer to an AIDS-free generation. What I learned is that compassion, love, determination, and hope are equally effective tools in this fight. I think the best way for me to talk about my trip is to tell you about the experiences of someone that I met. This is Irene's story. I wasn't sure what to expect when we drove up a dusty road in rural Lusaka to a Catholic church. I knew I was attending the fourth in a series of meetings to provide information and support for those newly diagnosed with HIV. Before entering, I stopped outside to play with some kids who were kicking around a soccer ball, just goofing around, just being kids. After a few minutes, I entered a big, bright room and took my seat in the middle of a group of about 25 people, men, women, old, young, and some with their children. I greeted the group through Rogers, one of the many amazing staff from SFH PSI's local affiliate. Rogers manages support sites like the one I visited. At first the group was shy, so I decided I would start, and I shared how I became involved in HIV/AIDS work. My most favorite acting teacher from NYU, for whom my son is named, died of AIDS complications. It destroyed me. I vowed I would do what I could to change how people with HIV/AIDS were treated. When I finished, a woman named Irene stood up in the front row and introduced herself. She had a strong face, but looked as though she had the weight of the world on her shoulders. She had a baby on her back and another child at her feet. She slowly began to share her story. Some time ago, she started developing sores on her hands and all over her body. She didn't understand why. She was in such pain that it was difficult for her to simply move. But the physical pain wasn't the worst part. Irene was a greeter at her church, something she loved to do. But when she started getting visibly sick, people would not go near her. They asked her not to come back to church. They told her flat out that she had AIDS and that she was going to die. She began to believe them. A friend insisted that she get an HIV test, and she did, and as suspected, Irene tested positive. When she shared the news with her son, instead of offering support, he spat on her and told her she was as good as dead. Her husband had died some time ago, and everyone she cared about was abandoning her. I looked at her as she spoke, and I was surprised to see relief coming across her face. The fact that she was able to share her story and that people in the group were listening and relating to her somehow lessened her pain. Clearly, she needed to be heard, and like all of us, she needed compassion. She came to the support center to learn how to live again. Thanks to the volunteers and other members, she's learning how to thrive, healthier, again providing for her family, She has forgiven her son and is taking control of her life. Irene's a fighter. When I think about Irene, I think about the many ways people like her might have been spared a positive diagnosis. What if more men and women used condoms? What if boys and men were routinely circumcised? What if more people stayed faithful to their partners? What if stigma and discrimination didn't keep people from learning the truth about HIV? What if more people got tested? It's fast, painless, and completely confidential. I speak from experience. I was tested at Irene's local clinic. I had the results within 20 minutes. If I had tested positive, I would have been referred to the type of support services that are helping Irene learn to live a healthy life. Irene is living proof that today HIV is manageable. It is a manageable disease. With the right medication, people are living long and healthy lives. Together, we can and will turn the tide. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Debra. Thank you very much for giving voice to Irene here at AIDS 2012 and her inspirational story. We have about 15 minutes, I think, for questions, and I would ask people to step up to the mics which are here in the aisles. Please identify yourself, indicate to whom your question is addressed, and please give us a question.
Hello. My name is Michael Kavanaugh, and I work for HIV Experience Resources Organization, or HERO. We're for newly diagnosed people living with HIV. My question is to Debra. Congratulations on another show introducing gay characters. I love it, by the way. You focus on Broadway, which is one of my favorite things. One of the things our website does is we interview a Broadway hero of the month every month. Out of the 32 of them we've done so far, only 2 of them have been straight. So my question is, how do we get producers and writers in Hollywood, especially when introducing gay characters, to do a little thing like saying, let's talk about getting tested together? Is it possible for us to make that little thing happen in Hollywood? And could you ask your producers to do that?
Absolutely. And I think you're right. I think that Hollywood has come very far in celebrating the gay and lesbian and transgender people in our world, and portraying them with respect and dignity. And I think that the thing where we have still a ways to go is to be more instructive within the narrative of how we can stay healthy and how we can be supportive of one another, and how the face of a positive HIV status is not a scary one. And so thank you, and I will ask my producers.
So much.
Thank you, Mr. Kavanaugh.